They teach you the art of war, but not the psychology behind it. Because the psychology is the part that scares people. It's the part that exposes how influence works, how control works, how power works. It's the part that turns ordinary minds into strategic thinkers, and strategic thinkers into dangerous ones. Most people believe Sun Tzu was simply a military general, but his real power, the power people rarely talk about, wasn't his strategy. It was his understanding of psychological destruction. He didn't just win battles. He dismantled minds. He broke confidence. He controlled perception. He manipulated fear. He turned hesitation into submission. Civilizations studied his tactics, but they sanitized his intentions. They teach you discipline, preparation, leadership, morale, but they avoid the darker truth. Sun Tzu's greatest victories were won without fighting, because he defeated people internally before the battlefield ever existed. And this is the part nobody teaches you. The part that rewires your thinking. The part that makes you someone the world cannot deceive, cannot predict, and cannot easily defeat. Before we continue, understand this. Sun Tzu wasn't obsessed with war. He was obsessed with the mind. And the darkest lessons, the ones people hide, are the ones that produce the sharpest minds today. They reveal how to think with cold clarity, how to move with intention, and how to win with minimal effort. If you're ready to move beyond surface-level wisdom, if you're ready to learn the side of Sun Tzu that intimidates even modern strategists, then say this silently to yourself. I choose mastery over comfort. Because once these lessons enter your mind, you will never see human behavior the same way again. If this message revealed the side of Sun Tzu the world rarely teaches, tap like and hit subscribe. And drop this in the comments. I choose mastery over comfort. Because once you think the way strategists think, you stop fighting for control and start winning long before the battle begins. Lesson 1. Win before the battle begins. Sun Tzu's most important lesson wasn't about fighting. It was about avoiding the fight entirely. And the only way to do that is to win psychologically before the conflict even starts. Most people think battles begin with physical confrontation, but battles actually begin with perception. If someone doubts themselves before facing you, you've already won. If they question their position, you've already won. If they panic while preparing, you've already won. If they enter the situation overly emotional, you've already won. Sun Tzu understood psychological priming. He shaped his enemies' minds long before they saw his soldiers. He used unpredictability to create fear. He used silence to create tension. He used misinformation to create confusion. He used reputation to create doubt. He used distance to create anxiety. People break themselves when they don't know what to expect, because uncertainty is the most powerful psychological weapon in human history. This is why Sun Tzu said, "Victorious warriors win first, and then go to war." He didn't trust the battlefield. He trusted the mind. And once the mind is defeated, the body follows without resistance. Lesson 2. Destroy your enemy's confidence, not their army. Most people misunderstand power. They think strength comes from force. They think dominance comes from attack. They think victory comes from destruction. Sun Tzu knew better. He realized the easiest way to defeat someone is not to overpower them, but to make them overpower themselves. Here's the truth. You don't need to crush someone's resources. You need to crush their certainty. You don't need to destroy their defenses. You need to destroy their belief in their defenses. You don't need to eliminate their ability. You need to eliminate their confidence in their ability. because once a person doubts themselves, their decisions weaken, their reactions slow, their emotions cloud, and their strategy collapses under the weight of insecurity. Sun Tzu used psychological warfare to dismantle confidence. He appeared strong when weak. He appeared weak when strong. He engaged unpredictably to create paranoia. He withdrew strategically to make others assume disaster. He manipulated expectations until his enemies fought shadows instead of soldiers. Fear destroys more armies than weapons. Doubt destroys more leaders than war. Uncertainty destroys more plans than conflict. Sun Tzu didn't need to destroy people. He made them destroy themselves. That is the dark lesson no one teaches. Break confidence, and the battle ends before it starts. Affirmation. I dismantle obstacles by mastering perception, not aggression. The most dangerous battles are not fought with weapons, they are fought with perception. The strongest warriors aren't the ones who strike first, but the ones who are never seen clearly. Sun Tzu understood that power is rarely loud, rarely obvious, rarely explosive. Real power is invisible. Real power is silent. Real power moves like a shadow, present but impossible to grasp. The power of unseen strategy is simple. What people cannot see, they cannot prepare for. What people cannot predict, they cannot counter. What people cannot read, they cannot manipulate. Sun Tzu was obsessed with this idea, not because he wanted to hide, but because he wanted to control the battlefield without risking exposure. He believed that the strongest position a person can take is the one no one can define. He mastered invisible influence, the ability to shape outcomes without appearing involved, to pull strings without being seen, to guide decisions without giving commands, to shift momentum without raising suspicion. This is not just military genius, it is psychological brilliance. And the next lessons reveal why the unreadable mind is the undefeated mind. Lesson 3. Make yourself unreadable. If people can't read you, they can't use you. If they can't predict you, they can't weaken you. If they can't understand your motives, they cannot prepare their defenses. Sun Tzu taught that unpredictability is a form of dominance, because predictability gives your enemy a map. Unpredictability forces them to fight blind. People reveal themselves constantly through reactions, tone, posture, emotion, and impulse. But the unreadable person? They reveal nothing. They respond slowly. They think carefully. They do not rush to expose their thoughts. They don't argue emotionally. They don't react to provocation. Sun Tzu said, "Be formless, be shapeless, make your opponent uncertain." This applies everywhere. In relationships, unreadable people cannot be manipulated. In negotiations, unreadable people dictate the pace. In conflicts, unreadable people win through stillness. In life, unreadable people walk with quiet authority. Being unreadable does not mean being confusing. It means being controlled, measured, strategic, emotionally disciplined. Your silence becomes a wall. Your calmness becomes a mystery. Your restraint becomes power. Lesson 4. Hide your strength, reveal their weakness. Most people make the same mistake. They expose their strengths too quickly, and they hide their weaknesses too poorly. But Sun Tzu taught the reverse. Your strength should be invisible. Their weakness should be exposed. Why? Because when people see your strength, they prepare defenses. When people assume you're weak, they lower their guard. And when people lower their guard, they reveal everything. Sun Tzu used deception not to lie, but to redirect perception. He allowed others to underestimate him. He allowed others to believe he lacked resources. He allowed others to walk into confidence traps. He allowed their arrogance to blind them. And while they were busy celebrating their imagined advantage, Sun Tzu studied their flaws, their patterns, their emotional triggers, and their vulnerabilities. The modern world is the same. Show people too much too soon, and they'll become threatened. Reveal your full potential prematurely, and they'll become competitive. Display your strength openly, and they'll try to undermine it. But stay quiet. Stay observant. Stay underestimated. And people will reveal their weaknesses without knowing. Manipulators reveal themselves trying to manipulate you. Insecure people reveal themselves trying to impress you. Arrogant people reveal themselves trying to dominate you. Weak people reveal themselves trying to test you. Your silence exposes them. Your restraint gives them room to confess. Your hidden strength makes them careless. Why manipulation fails against people who use perception as a weapon. Manipulation relies on misdirection, but perception destroys misdirection. Manipulation relies on emotional reaction, but control destroys emotional reaction. Manipulation relies on predictability, but unreadability destroys predictability. Sun Tzu-level thinkers don't fight manipulation. They let it reveal the manipulator. They don't resist every tactic. They observe it. They don't fall into traps. They wait for the trap setter to expose their intent. A manipulator trying to deceive a perceptive person is like playing chess against someone who can see every move 4 steps ahead. They fail before they begin. If these insights are shifting how you see conflict, strategy, and the mind, tap like and hit subscribe. Your support matters, and it helps this message reach more people who are ready to stop reacting like soldiers and start thinking like strategists. Now, say these affirmations. I move in silence. I stay unreadable. I reveal nothing I don't choose to show. I use perception as a shield and strategy as a weapon. My presence confuses the unprepared. My restraint exposes the unwise. I win battles before they happen. Sun Tzu believed something most people still don't understand. Real wars do not begin on the battlefield. Real wars begin in the mind. Before any conflict, before any confrontation, before any decision, there is a psychological battle, a collision between fear and strategy, insecurity and clarity, impulse and discipline. And Sun Tzu knew that whoever controls their mind controls the outcome long before a single move is made. The mind is the battlefield because the mind determines everything else. Your reactions, your focus, your decisions, your confidence, your perception, your power. People think they lose to others, but most people lose to themselves first. They lose to their anger. They lose to their anxiety. They lose to their insecurity. They lose to their impulses. They lose to their lack of preparation. They lose because their mind is already defeated. That's why Sun Tzu said, "The greatest victory is the one won without fighting." He wasn't talking about avoiding conflict. He was talking about mastering yourself. Let's dive deeper. Lesson 5. Control your emotions. Control the field. The person who controls their emotions controls the situation, no matter how aggressive the opponent, no matter how chaotic the environment, no matter how unpredictable the outcome. Emotional discipline is the strongest position a strategist can hold. Sun Tzu understood that emotionality blinds people. Anger makes you reckless. Fear makes you hesitant. Insecurity makes you impulsive. Attachment makes you weak. Pride makes you foolish. But emotional neutrality? That makes you unbeatable. When you stay calm while others panic, you see openings they overlook. When you stay patient while others rush, you move with precision. When you stay controlled while others react, you gain advantage effortlessly. When you remain silent while others shout, you become the authority in the room. Emotional control is psychological dominance. It is the foundation of Sun Tzu's philosophy. Because if someone can't provoke you, they can't manipulate you. If someone can't shake you, they can't defeat you internally. If someone can't control your emotions, they can't control your strategy. Your internal calm becomes external power. Lesson 6. Let others break themselves. The self-destruction principle. Sun Tzu taught that the easiest way to defeat an opponent is to let them defeat themselves. Most people carry their own destruction inside them. All you have to do is give it space to unfold. Let their anger destroy their judgment. Let their ego destroy their awareness. Let their impatience destroy their strategy. Let their insecurity destroy their stability. Let their overconfidence destroy their preparation. You don't have to attack people who are already attacking themselves. You don't have to expose someone who is already exposing their weaknesses. You don't have to manipulate someone who is already lost in their own impulses. This is why silence works. This is why distance works. This is why calmness works. This is why unreadability works. They leave room for the opponent to unravel. Sun Tzu used this constantly. He watched, he waited, he observed, and he allowed the enemy to deteriorate under the weight of their own psychological cracks. Most people in modern life do the same thing. They burn bridges out of ego. They ruin relationships out of insecurity. They sabotage opportunities out of fear. They overreact until they lose respect. They self-destruct without realizing it. Sun Tzu's genius wasn't in breaking others. It was in letting others break themselves. How modern life mirrors ancient warfare. People think Sun Tzu's philosophy is outdated because we no longer fight with swords and shields. But the battlefield has only changed locations. It hasn't disappeared. Today's battles take place in workplaces, relationships, negotiations, conversations, conflicts, social dynamics, competitive environments. Every day, people fight for influence, reputation, opportunity, attention, and psychological advantage. Every day, people attempt persuasion, manipulation, dominance, and control. Every day, minds collide before outcomes are decided. The weapons have changed. The strategies have not. And the ones who understand the psychology behind interaction win. Once you understand that the real battlefield is internal, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on meaningless conflict. You stop reacting emotionally to every provocation. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop getting dragged into battles designed to break you. You begin to operate like Sun Tzu intended, strategically, silently, deliberately. You rise above emotional chaos. You win by clarity, not force. You win by discipline, not aggression. You win by perception, not confrontation. You win by letting others expose themselves while you remain still. You become psychologically untouchable. Most people lose because they can't sit still. They panic in silence. They rush under pressure. They react without thinking. They're addicted to movement, addicted to answers, addicted to resolution. Even when rushing destroys the outcome. Sun Tzu understood a truth most people still fear. Sometimes the strongest move is no move at all. Strategic inaction is one of the darkest, most misunderstood principles of warfare. It feels counterintuitive, uncomfortable, and even weak. But in reality, it is psychological dominance, because waiting forces others to reveal their intentions, expose their insecurities, and act from a place of desperation. Winning through waiting is not laziness. It is weaponized patience. It is letting time do the work your emotions want to rush. It is allowing pressure to build on the other side while you remain still. In warfare, in relationships, in business, in life, the person who can wait is the person who controls the tempo. And that brings us to the next lesson. Lesson 7. Distance gives you power over people. Distance is not avoidance. It is elevation. It gives you a vantage point. It gives you clarity. It gives you control. When you step back, you stop reacting emotionally and start observing strategically. Sun Tzu understood the psychology of distance. When you pull back, others step forward. When you become silent, others reveal their motives. When you become scarce, others show their priorities. When you stop chasing, others expose their effort. Distance forces a revelation, not from you, but from them. People show you who they are when they don't have instant access to you. Some will become anxious, revealing insecurity. Some will become aggressive, revealing entitlement. Some will disappear, revealing disinterest. Some will pursue with respect, revealing genuine value. Some will adjust their behavior, revealing respect. Distance sorts people without a single conversation. It filters intentions without confrontation. It protects your energy without explanation. Distance is one of the purest forms of psychological warfare because it forces others to act while you remain still, and stillness is control. Lesson 8. Strike only when it damages their spirit. Most people strike too early, when the opponent is strong, reactive, emotional, or prepared. Sun Tzu believed this was foolish. He was patient, almost unnervingly so. He waited until the moment when action would break, not the body, but the spirit. A wounded spirit cannot lead. A shaken spirit cannot think. A demoralized spirit cannot fight. A defeated spirit cannot resist. Sun Tzu taught that the right action at the wrong time is failure, but the right action at the perfect moment is absolute victory. He didn't strike when his enemy expected it. He didn't strike when his enemy was watching. He didn't strike to prove a point. He struck when the psychological structure of his opponent was weakest, when doubt had taken root, when confusion was spreading, when exhaustion was visible, when fear was already present. Sun Tzu didn't destroy armies. He destroyed confidence. Because once confidence collapses, everything else falls quietly behind it. In modern life, this looks like speaking only when emotions settle, acting only when you have leverage, making decisions when clarity is highest, setting boundaries when detachment is strong, walking away when the other person least expects your strength. You don't attack to create weakness. You wait until weakness appears, then move with precision. Most people rush to resolve conflict. Strategists wait until the resolution is psychologically advantageous. This is Sun Tzu's dark timing principle, the art of damaging the spirit rather than the surface. Why patience is weaponized in true strategy. Patience is not passive. Patience is pressure. Patience is psychological tension. Patience is the manipulation of expectation. Patience is letting others deteriorate while you remain composed. People who lack patience show their weaknesses quickly. They reveal desperation. They reveal fear. They reveal insecurity. They reveal their limits. But those who can wait, they become unpredictable. They become dangerous. They become unshakable. They become Sun Tzu's definition of a true strategist. Because patience is not just the ability to wait, it is the ability to wait without emotional collapse. In today's world, people are terrified of distance, terrified of silence, terrified of waiting, terrified of not knowing. This desperation is exactly what gives strategic thinkers power. Ignore someone for 5 minutes, and they panic. Don't reply instantly, and they question everything. Take space, and their insecurity explodes. Hold your position, and they break theirs. Sun Tzu would thrive in modern relationships and communication because the psychological battlefield is now digital, instantaneous, and emotional. Distance reveals maturity. Silence reveals intention. Inaction reveals loyalty. Patience reveals character. Strategic people don't chase clarity. They create it by doing nothing until the truth surfaces on its own. There comes a moment in your evolution where you stop reacting like everyone else and start thinking like Sun Tzu. You begin to understand that power doesn't come from aggression. It doesn't come from loudness. It doesn't come from dominance. Power comes from perception, from patience, from clarity, from restraint, from psychological control. A Sun Tzu-level strategist is not someone who fights better, but someone who fights less. Not someone who wins harder, but someone who wins smarter. Not someone who destroys others, but someone who allows others to destroy themselves. This is the identity shift you've been building toward in this entire protocol. This is the moment you stop being reactive and start becoming strategic. When you embrace Sun Tzu's darkest lessons, you don't just become stronger. You become untouchable. You stop entering unnecessary battles. You stop revealing your intentions. You stop responding emotionally. You stop fearing silence. You stop chasing clarity. You stop letting other people's chaos pull you off your center. You begin moving differently, more slowly, more intentionally, more observantly, more strategically. Your presence becomes a calculation. Your silence becomes a message. Your patience becomes pressure. Your distance becomes leverage. Your thoughtfulness becomes your shield. People start to sense something in you, something they cannot name, but instantly respect. You're no longer playing the common emotional games society runs on. You are operating on Sun Tzu's frequency. You've become someone who wins without fighting, someone whose very presence breaks illusions and whose mind sees angles others can't. You don't have to be on a battlefield to use Sun Tzu's teachings. Today's warriors look different. They are leaders who control rooms through silence, not shouting. They are thinkers who predict outcomes by observing patterns. They are negotiators who let others talk themselves into weakness. They are quiet minds who cannot be manipulated because they cannot be read. They are individuals who walk away without emotion and win by absence. They are people who transform relationships, careers, and conflicts through psychological advantage. Modern power is mental, not physical. And those who master Sun Tzu's dark psychology move through the world with an advantage others will never detect, until it's too late. Sun Tzu's ultimate principle: the greatest victory leaves no wounds. Most people think victory is about domination. Sun Tzu knew victory is about preservation. The greatest victory is the one where you don't lose your peace. You don't lose your self-control. You don't lose your dignity. You don't lose your energy. You don't lose your identity. You win quietly, without scars, without chaos, without damage. The strongest warriors are the ones who walk away untouched, because they won in the mind long before the first strike was ever made. That is Sun Tzu's ultimate secret. Power is not proven through conflict. Power is proven through the absence of it. If this message revealed the side of Sun Tzu the world rarely teaches, tap like and hit subscribe, and drop this in the comments. I choose mastery over comfort. Because once you think the way strategists think, you stop fighting for control and start winning long before the battle begins.